Hello everyone and welcome back to JavaScript Lessons and Codecademy. So last time we had a review on what we had learned about objects so far, and today we're going to be learning something new. So let's get straight into it. But as the lesson says, before we can actually start doing a lot of cool stuff with objects, we need to learn how we can know if an object is an object or if some variable is a string. So it would be great if we could tell what type something is in JavaScript. A good thing there's something already built in for that. So say we have a variable thing and we don't know what type thing is. So thing can be various things. It could be an array, it could be a string, it could be a number, it could be an object. We can call type of thing to figure this out. Generally, the most useful types are number, string, function, and course. And of course object. That was confusing. I didn't see the quotation marks there. As an example, the following example will print object. So if you do something like create an object first, and then you log the type of the object, it's going to print object. So let's see how we can use this. Well, not really use it, but let's practice this at first. So on lines 3 to 6 we have an object, a number, and a string, as we can see. So object, number, and string. I'll complete lines 7 to 9, so they will print the appropriate types of these variables. So as we learned, we can do this by doing type of as one word or one keyword, and then the name of the variable. So that should print object. And then we can do type of a number. Oops, without the capital U. And at the end we can do type of a string. So what this should print is first of all object, then number, and then string. So let's see if that is correct. As we can see, that's exactly what it does. So let's move on. In the last exercise we used type of to figure out what type a variable in JavaScript is. Since we know how to tell objects apart from everything else, now let's focus on them. So you wouldn't know, but every object in JavaScript comes with some baggage. Okay, I guess we will see what that means later on. Part of this baggage includes a method called HasOwnProperty. This lets us know if an object has a particular property. Oh, so baggage is like it has its own built-in function kind of things, I'm guessing, or things that you can do with it. That's interesting. So we show how to use HasOwnProperty in the last two lines. So here it returns true or false based on whether an object has a certain property. So let's see what our task is. We should finish my object, giving it a name property. Make sure that my object doesn't have a nickname property so that the last line will print false. So all we need to do then is create a name property and give it a name. I will just go with that, and there we go. So HasOwnProperty returns either true or false, and based on that you could do various things. So for example, actually I think that happens in the next lesson, so let's just explain a bit how it works. So because in my object you have the property name, when you check if name is in object, it prints true because it is an object, but if it isn't, it just prints false. And instead of so if you wanted to use a property and wasn't sure if it was in there, instead of getting a syntax error, you could just handle it by checking first if it exists. So let's get into how this could be used. So let's get some practice working with HasOwnProperty. It is an invaluable tool when working with objects. So try to run the code in the editor as it is. You should get an error because shorts is not the property of the suitcase object. So let's write some code to test for this so we can avoid the nasty error later. So this is exactly what I was talking about. So remove the console.log statement. Okay, that's simple. Write an if statement that checks to see if suitcase has the shorts property. I believe yep, that's how it looks. HasOwnProperty, and we need to check shirt. If it does, do something. If it doesn't, do something else. So if your if statement evaluates to true, print the value of shorts property. So that's how we can do that. And then otherwise, set the shorts property to any value you wish using dot notation, and then print the value of the shorts property. So okay, suitcase, just the same as above. And then we need to print it. I could have just copied this whole line, but I didn't. There we go. Oh, it actually doesn't print it. That's weird. I have no idea why it doesn't print it out. I mean, it doesn't give me an error, but that's confusing me. It just prints undefined. Suitcase.shorts. We assign it. I have no idea what's happening there, but I will just move on. So getting intimate, whatever that means. Now let's learn how to work with all the properties that belong to an object. First, let's define an object. So that's already kind of been done for us here, but how you define an object, as we know, is you say var and then the name of the object, and that equals whatever you want it to equal. So to print out all elements, we can use a for in loop like this. We have covered that in the previous video, so I'm not going to go over it. So in the loop, we use console.log to print out each key. Remember, the property bit can be any placeholder name you like. So what we need to do is just use that, use a for in loop to print out everything of NIC. Yeah, so and then we just put n in there. So as it's looping through NIC, it prints out everything that it comes across. So as we can see, it prints out full name, mayor, population, and boroughs. So it only prints out the not the oh yes, the key. It just prints out the key. It doesn't print out the value of the key. And we're going to print out the value of the key here. So we've just seen how to print out all the objects' property names with a for in loop. But how do we print out all the values associated with every property? So the for in loop will be our friend again. Let's get there slowly. Our dog object can help us. So if you have something like a dog object like here, you need to do something like that, which I will do here without having to explain this much code from the already given to us. So we see that by oops, I will scroll up so that you guys can see. We see that by assigning the property name to a variable, we can then use the variable name in bracket notation to get the property's value. So to get all the values from the dog object, we would use a for in loop and the bracket notation we just saw above. So if we don't know how to do that, we can use hint. But let's just do it. So we can just use another for in loop, curly brackets, and if we do just n, it's going to print out the property name. It's not going to print out the property itself. But if we do square bracket notation, it's going to print out the property that's stored under that property name, or the value that's stored under that key. So let's check if that is correct, and as you can see, that is correct. So when n is full name, it prints out New York City. When n is mayor, it prints out Bill de Blasio. And when it's population, it prints out, is that 8 million or? Yep, 8 million, I think. 6 zeros, definitely 8 million. And when n is borrows, it prints out 5. So hopefully that makes sense. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask in the comments down below. I will make sure to answer them. But until the next video, thank you guys so much for watching. Please share, subscribe, like, dislike if you didn't like it, and tell me how I can improve for next time so that you do like it. But until that next time, thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.